Good afternoon, everyone. We will call the June 9th, 2021 special council meeting to order. We are here to discuss the city manager search. Ask if there are any citizens to be heard. If so, please come to the mic and you'll need to fill out a card, but if you just give your name for the record.
State my name. Yes, Dina Ramos from Florida. I would like to let you know, guys, that I believe that the city manager should come from here, local, identify himself or herself with the people that reside in here, take personal attachment or relationship or what's the word that I would say? I think when someone is from somewhere else, things are different, and so the approach is different, and the angle is different, and the feelings and attitudes, the thoughts, the ideas might be different, and so I believe that the person that occupies the city manager position, it should be somebody from Clearwater. It should be a local person, a person that knows Clearwater, that identifies Clearwater, that have roots in Clearwater, that knows the people, that understand what moves in here, not someone that comes from far away, from outside, and then they have to do research to learn. And even whatever you read or whatever you talk to or do, it's not sufficient to identify yourself. I can read about New York. I can read about any other state, any other place, and it's not the same that I am from there. I have roots in there. I have my interest in there. I am from here. I take personal responsibility for what happens in my city, in my land, with my people, and so someone that comes from afar, it might bring a different approach to what we need. So I will appreciate that if you consider someone that is local. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ramos, for coming out. I would love if we had a candidate from Clearwater,
Right.
but we also do have certain requirements for the person to be a city manager, as far as certifications and whatnot, and experience. That's the challenge.
Right.
We want somebody who has run a city elsewhere and has a track record that we can look at. We can talk to those people who have worked with them. That's the challenge with having somebody in Clearwater. Now, if there was somebody living in the city currently that had the credentials, they certainly could have applied, but we did not get anybody from Clearwater, nor really from the Tampa Bay region. So, okay. All right, item 3.1. Ms. Poyer?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. As you are aware, the Council did select 5 finalists to be brought in to participate in an interview and community forum process that is scheduled for next week. We have 2 candidates that are remaining, and with one of them just recently withdrawing. And so we wanted to have an opportunity for the Council to consider if they want to move forward with the 2 candidates that remain that were selected as part of the top 5, or if they wanted to do something different, such as start a new search. So we are prepared to move forward. The candidates are prepared to come in. We have an updated schedule. We have questions for you all. So we are certainly prepared to move forward if that is the will of the Council.
Okay, and we also have Baker Tilly on the line if anyone has questions. I think you all already know where I am because it was clarified in the newspaper. I certainly wish we had 5 candidates. That's what I had planned and hoped for so that we could compare. But, now that we're down to 2, I still think we owe the 2 candidates that are finalists to at least interview them and go through the process. And if we don't feel comfortable at the end of that process, then we reopen it. But they have done nothing wrong. They have followed the process. They are still interested. They are qualified. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put them as finalists. So I think we owe that to them and the community. But that's my personal belief. I also don't know if, and Mr. Horn, maybe you could answer this better than anybody, but let's say we wanted to replenish the finalists and go out and advertise, whether we did for 30 or 45 days. How would you feel as a city manager who has now put yourself out there and said, you're interested in leaving the community that you're currently managing? And, oh, by the way, we'd like you to wait another 45 days for the first interview to occur.
If there is an impact as a result of that, then I would have to evaluate whether that impact makes a difference. It keeps me in the game. If that impact does disadvantage me in a way that I don't feel like I could stay in it, then I'll drop out. I mean, it's really the individual impact, that really makes the difference. And so it's hard to assess that unless you have the personal circumstance. So I just think it will be a function of, say, in my case, if it doesn't make a difference, I'm still in the game. But if there's an impact that I can't resolve, then I'll have to make a decision to do something else.
I just think about the councils that these folks work for. You're adding a significant period of time, and they've clearly communicated with their city council. If you weren't retiring and you told us that you were ready to go on to another community and you were interviewing, and then we went another 45, probably 60 days when all is said and done, I think that would be very uncomfortable at some point. So I'll open it up to all of you and your opinions. Councilmember Hamilton?
Yeah, I'm, and in response to Ms. Ramos, I would love to have a local candidate, but the position of city manager to me is, there's a very specific skill set involved in it. And while the new city manager may not be from here in Clearwater, the city manager is the one employee that all five of us have control of, and we are all local. So the new city manager, whoever it be, will be getting immersed in 5 different perspectives of what Clearwater is, and will be able to take that information and use it to the best way that they see fit. Now, as far as being down to 2, I agree with you, Mayor. We all agreed on 5 finalists. The fact that 3 of them fell out does not disqualify the other 2. We all felt the other 2, that all 5 of them had the potential to be our next city manager. So to disqualify the last 2 just because 3 of them, for various personal reasons, have withdrawn, I think would be not being fair to the 2 that are remaining. I think we need to bring them in, interview them, and if at the end of that process we don't feel like we've got got what we need, we'll take whatever action we need to take at that point. I don't think we're here to talk about the individuals that are left. But I think both, as I've looked more and more at their answers to the questions we asked, the resumes and work experience, I think they're both very qualified people, and I look forward to interviewing them and seeing where we can get.
Councilmember Albright?
Yeah, and to respond to the same thing that you're saying, my platform when I ran was that I wanted to run to be involved with this process, because it's very important to me that we bring in somebody that's qualified, that can take over what Bill has done for 20 years here, not just anybody. And the qualifications were very important to me. Unfortunately, you know, almost 100 people applied. We were down to 2. That's unfortunate. But the 2 that we have that are still in, I feel that we owe to at least interview them. And I think there's a lot to do to be able to see them and to talk to them and ask questions one-on-one is very important. Unfortunately, I'd like to have more myself at this point, but the 2 that are still in the game, I think, are qualified, in my opinion, that meet the qualifications. So I'm looking forward to meeting them and seeing how they, you know, how it all works out with them.
Okay, Councilmember Beckman.
Well, this is a difficult position. You know, it's, I certainly wish we had more people to hear their voice and interview them in person. I think we deserve more than 2 candidates. When I went through the 10 applications, and really it was 9 because one person dropped out pretty quickly before the weekend of going through everything. You know, I took a lot of time and thought about what were my priorities, what am I looking for, and kind of made a checklist as I went through, you know, 13-page resumes. And so these gentlemen were fine for the cut, but, you know, we never talked about what was on your criteria as you rated the 9 people that we were given their resumes for. And so, yes, I think they deserve an interview. But if we interview them next week and, you know, frankly, if they don't hit it out of the ballpark, you know, it's like, okay, do we start all over or do we add 3 to them? Or what kind of message does that send to them? So it's just, you know, it's an unfortunate position, and I'd like to know, you know, I'd like some clarity a little bit about the selection process and the recommendations from Mr. Davis, and, you know, the fact that did he interview and speak with each one of them to get a feel? Because part of our follow-up questions initially was about the woman from, you know, the Cape Cod area, and how he thought she was going to be great, and so he added her to the list, and then she dropped off, and there's a little bit of talk about, well, you know, Florida has sunshine laws, and maybe people didn't want their resumes available or a publicized interview. It's like, weren't those things discussed on the front end as people are applying? Like, look, this is what the process is going to look like, and this is what you're going to be going through. So I hope that that was made clear so that people, you know, I don't know the reasons that people have dropped out. I really, you know, would like to better understand. I mean, not that you know people's personal business, but to get this far along, and a couple, you know, one of those candidates I really liked and really thought on paper looked great, and that person's no longer here, and it's just, you know, it's just.
Well, I think Ms. Goldsmith may have watched our discussion as we narrowed the candidates from 10 to 5. And, you know, two of the candidates that have pulled out, Mr. Palmer and Ms. Goldsmith, both were kind of the last 2 in, I think, as we discussed. And I think people do, you know, judge whether they think they have a good chance of being the pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just looking for a good fit.
I
If there isn't a good fit next week, then I'm willing to go back to the drawing board. I hope that isn't the case. I hope, you know, we've got a love connection, but it, you know, that may not happen, and if it doesn't, then, you know, that's my intention, is to go back. Councilmember Bunker?
I was really looking forward to meeting Ms. Goldsmith and at least one of the other candidates who dropped out. So my initial reaction was, let's start over. But then I took some time to reread the remaining two applications. And they are solid candidates. And I would like to meet and talk with them. They're, as we've said, they're both very capable. I'm disappointed that we don't have a broader selection, just, for choice, and we simply weren't given a reason why the other three decided to drop out?
I forwarded everything that was provided.
Okay. It's the same way with the Bluff development. Why did all these other developers decide not to participate? It's something we would like to know, but we'd never get answers. So I think we do deserve, they deserve a chance to be interviewed. With the understanding that if neither of these people seem to work out, then we will have to cast the net again.
So I'm hearing consensus that we go forward.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I will, so momentarily I will send you all the updated schedule that was provided by Baker Tilly, as well as interview questions for you all to select from. It's a bank of interview questions, and so with some instruction as to how to consider and narrow that down. It's a large bank of questions, so you won't be able to get through all of them, and those are for both your individual one-on-one interviews with the candidates, and/or the council, the full council interviews. So you will have that, and if there's anything else that you need, please don't hesitate to let me or Mr. Davis know.
So just so folks know, we're going to have the opportunity to interview all of the pair of candidates next Tuesday morning. We are going to have a public forum at Ruth Eckerd Hall on Tuesday at 5 p.m. That is is it in the higher room, or are we having it in the main hall?
I believe it's in the main hall.
Okay, so that's going to be from 5 to 7?
5:30 to 7.
Okay, on here, my calendar, it's got 5. So 5:30 to 7:30 at Ruth Eckerd Hall. We invite all the citizens to come out to that. It's an opportunity for them to ask questions and to hear responses for both of those candidates. And we will give them an opportunity to give an opinion, obviously. And then we are anticipating having a decision, a special council meeting the next day, where we will most likely make a decision either to hire or go into negotiations with a winner, or whether we will start the process over. Does that pretty much summarize it?
That is summarized, yes.
Okay. Anything else from staff? Mr. Horn, anything? Councilmember Beckman?
So you said you'd provide us with a bank of questions that we can use to formulate questions to ask as we sit up here collectively?
Yes.
But the questions that we develop for our one-on-ones can be our own questions. And whatever I have written down needs to be turned in
Correct.
to you. Okay.
Anything else? Well, thank you all for the quick turnaround on having this meeting, and we'll look forward to meeting the two gentlemen next week. With that, we are adjourned.